Welcome back everyone to the channel. In this video I'm going to be going over a game of chess played between two players you might know, maybe some of you don't know. Their names are Garry Kasparov and Anatoly Karpov. Both of them have been world champion for multiple years, and this game that I'm about to show you was played back in the 1985 World Championship between the two of them, and it was the game and the match that began the 15-year World Championship reign of Garry Kasparov. So I'm very excited for this game to show you and break down some of these moves. And without further ado, let's get into it. But first, something real quick. If any of you ever want me to go over your games or send games to me, you can send them to my email here on the screen, and I'd be happy to go over them. And yeah, I don't know, if you ever want to send games, just send them to my email here from chess.com or whatever. Just send your games there, and maybe give me a little more information, like I don't know, just something else besides just the game, so I know just a little bit more perspective. So if you want, you don't have to. It would just be fun, I can do a video on some games that I went over. But anyway, enough plugging that. I'm going to get right into the game. So I do not have profile pictures or ratings, so I'm sorry, but both of these players are probably at this point maybe high 2700s. I'm not sure, but okay. So we got Karpov playing with the white pieces and Garry is playing with the black pieces. So we have d4, d5, c4, and e6. This is the Queen's Gambit declined, and we have knight to f3, and we have c5, which is called the Tarrasch defense, I believe. C takes d5, e takes d5, now g3, knight to f6, bishop g2, and now we have bishop e7, castles, castles. Alright, this is the position after 7 moves. Karpov goes knight c3, and now we have knight to c6, and bishop g5. Kasparov takes the pawn on d4, and we have knight takes d4. At the same time, he also opened up the bishop on g2 by taking with the knight. We have h6, and now bishop back to e3, and rook e8. So clearly, Kasparov is planning some kind of attack, although the fact that they castled on the same side could possibly inform us that this is going to be more of a slower and maybe even a drawish game. So that's usually just what happens when you castle on the same side. Anyway, rook e8, and now we have queen b3, and this move is attacking that pawn. We have knight to a5, queen has to back up to c2, and now we have bishop to g4. Knight f5, and rook to c8, and bishop d3. Bishop c5, bishop takes, rook takes. Now we have knight back to e3, targeting the bishop. Bishop backs up to e6, rook d1, and queen c8, queen a4, rook d8, rook d3, a6, rook fd1, and now Karpov has created a what's the word, like a battery of rooks, and he has the 2 knights. He has very nice, very nice control of the center with the 2 rooks, the 2 knights, and the bishop. We have knight c4, knight takes c4, and rook takes c4, and queen a5. And yeah, so rook c5. So going over this game, there was a couple of variations that I saw. One was so let me see here. After rook takes e4, we have queen a5, and then rook to c5. But instead of that, we could have had d4. So after queen a5, we could have had d4, and then, but this leads to bishop takes b7, and this is a very famous tactic called overloading, where you can take a piece. In this case, you take the pawn with the bishop, and if the queen were to take, you take the rook. So you basically, white basically just won a pawn here, but that didn't happen. That was just a variation. So let me go back to, where were we? Where were we? Let me see. Here, take. Okay, queen a5. Now we have rook to c5 and queen to b6, rook d7, rook d4, queen c7, offering a trade. We have a trade of queens on the board, and now we have h3. So this move, I don't totally get it. I assume it just black just wanted to put the bishop on g4. I'm not really sure, but anyway, that if that was the idea, that hinders it and that stops it, I guess. Now we have h5, which is, according to the engine, quite a good move. a3 and g6, e3. So Karpov is doing all the right things, replacing, since he traded his dark squared bishop, he is now putting all of his pawns on dark squares. That way his light square bishop will be very powerful, and black's light square bishop will also be pretty good, but also won't be able to target any pawns. So we have king to g7, now king h2, and rook to c4. Offering another trade, we have, instead of a trade, we have bishop to f3, and now we have b5. So now Kasparov is probably going to just march those pawns down. We have king to g2, and now we have rook to c5. Rook takes c4, rook takes c4, and rook to d4. Instead of the trade, which would be good for black if white would trade, so after rook to d4, black did not want to trade, because if he were to trade, this would just be like a kind of a draw. I think it would basically just almost be a draw, because there's a 3-on-3 on this side, and then the 2-on-2, and then these pawns are frozen, and then there's a 3-on-3. So this could just be leading towards a draw. So instead of that, we have whoopsies. Okay. So instead, now we have, so we have here rook to d4, and then bishop e2 attacking. We have a trade here, and now the king is walking over towards the center. Knight 8. Where were we here? Knight a2, bishop c8, and knight to b4. So doing a little reroute here from c3, a2 to b4. F3, and kind of blocking the knight out there. We have a trade of knight for bishop. And now we have knight to e3. Bishop goes back to b1, and now b4. So yeah, Karpov is just making sure that all of his pawns cannot be taken. Now, g takes h4 by Kasparov is given an inaccuracy, because instead of taking, you can actually, and this happened, Karpov sacked the pawn when knight g2. Kasparov took on g3, check, and king took. And after king e5, e6, we have knight to f4, forking the king and the pawn, so he won the pawn back. King e6, knight back to f4 check, king d6, king g4. Now we march the king up here. Now we have another check, knight takes d5 check, and we can win another pawn, but he doesn't go for that pawn. Instead, he goes here, check, he goes knight c7 check, and he's going to win the a6 pawn, which he does. But now we have bishop takes f3, and king takes f6. So now Karpov is just cleanly up 2 pawns, and this game is about over. So after king takes f6, we have king to d6 and king f5. Now we just march the king down, and we have king e3, so protecting the pawn, and king c4, knight c5, bishop c6, knight d3, bishop e2, knight e5 check, knight king c3, knight g6. So the horsey kind of goes on a little bit of an expedition. Oh, just like, I mean, look at this. This is ridiculous. So where does it start? So like over here. So if you look at how the horsey just walks around the board, it's kind of hilarious. So horsey's just walking around. It makes like, this is so funny. So it makes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wait, the whole, starting from here, all of white's moves were made with the horsey. So knight c5, bishop c6, just look at this. All of white's moves were made with the little pony. So, and yeah, so after white took on b5, or sorry, not that. Knight takes on b5, king a4, and knight to d6, Kasparov resigned. So Karpov won this, but you know, overall Kasparov did end up winning the whole match and becoming world champion, and he was world champion from 1985 to 2000. So yeah, a great game to go over, and I don't know, it's kind of eye-opening sometimes to just watch some of these games and go over them and review them, because I don't know, they're just super high level games, and yeah, I don't know, I really enjoy making these videos and going over them, because for the most part I usually don't look at the games before I make the video. Most of the time, some of the time I do. Most of the time I'm watching, just like you, so for the first time. So I don't know, it's just fun to watch and see and watch along with all y'all. And yeah, I don't know. So yeah, especially these last few moments were pretty fun to go over, and I don't know. Anyway, yeah, that was the game, and hopefully you guys enjoyed. And I wanted to make this video relatively short, so we're keeping it around 12 and a half minutes. So hopefully we will keep it around there. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed. And again, if you ever wanted me to go over games, send them here to my email. And yeah, I don't have much more to say other than that. Check out other videos. You can subscribe here, right here on my face, and check out round 1, and round 2 will be coming soon, but you can check out round 1 of my first ever tournament. And yeah, again, I already made the recap for round 3, so I might put round 2 and 3 in this, like, at the same time, release them at the same time, so we'll see. But if by the time you get this, they're probably out, so you can check them out. Other than that, I don't have much more to say, so thank you all for watching, and I'll stop yapping, and I'll see you all in the next video.